Hello, my name is Guadalupe Guzman. This is my sickle cell anemia presentation for BioLab 182. My primary literature article is Child Mortality from Sickle Cell Disease in Nigeria, and my news story is reporting on a child's fight to survive. This assignment aids students to practice in communicating information in an engaging manner for an audience. To summarize my news story, reporting on a child's fight to survive. About 150,000 newborns are infected with sickle cell disease in Nigeria. Nearly half of newborns who are born with this trait do not make it to their 5th birthday. Individuals who experience severe pain are often treated by providers who downplay their pain and often unsure on how to manage their symptoms. Individuals who are born with this disorder and reside in developing nations aren't as fortunate to afford treatments and often pass at a very young age compared to individuals who lie within wealthy countries like the United States. For instance, individuals with this disease live up to be 50 years old. Minorities face the toughest challenges concerning appropriate health care. For instance, hemophilia and cystic fibrosis acquire 440 times more funding from the National Foundation than sickle cell disease. This seemed to be accurate in reference to my primary literature article. The background of sickle cell disease. Essentially, hemoglobin is a protein in our red blood cells that conveys oxygen throughout our entire body. If any disturbances occur with an individual's hemoglobin, then they could potentially get diagnosed with sickle cell disease. A carrier of sickle cell disease has a 25% potential chance of passing this disorder to their offspring. The genotype is recessive and requires a homozygous carrier to be present to express this phenotype. Healthy blood cells are round and transport through small blood vessels. When an individual possesses the disease, their red blood cells become rigid and almost like an adhesive consistency due to the lack of oxygen. Ultimately, these cells start forming into the infamous C shape, also known as the sickle cell shape. This is in reference to my primary literature article, Cost of Sickle Cell Disease. Patients who are treated for sickle cell disease do not receive the proper treatments regularly, and outcomes are often a matter of just a few dollars. In the news stories, I added the reporter goes in depth on how the subject does not always receive the daily 3-drug regimen prescribed for sickle cell disease, along with injections and blood transfusions. This is due to insufficient funds. The Nigerian federal minimum wage equates to less than 1,000 US dollar. An annual cost of just the daily 3-drug regimen medication is roughly 44 US dollars. The total cost of care for patients is truly unknown due to the fact of sudden complications and how each patient differs from each other. The average cost per patient was around $460,000. This estimate cost incorporates patients from 0 to 9 months, respectively. This life-threatening genetic disorder has been the absence of diagnosis for most newborns in sub-Saharan Africa. Due to the lack of screening, this attributes to many deaths related to sickle cell disease. In Nigeria, the majority of child death is sickle cell disease, largely higher than child death without sickle cell disease. This article analyzed the mortality differences using the population level analysis of data from DHS to estimate the prevalence of sickle cell disease. They determined this by combining information on tested children and their untested cohort. Most of these deaths are prevented if resources were available in Nigeria, along with adequate healthcare access. This study could aid in determining the burden of sickle cell disease elsewhere in Africa and South Asia. Here we compare two genotypes, HBSS and HBSE. HBSS represents the sickle cell disease genotype and is the most common, while HBSC is the most common in West African ancestry and is derived from the combination of a sickle cell gene and an abnormal hemoglobin called hemoglobin C. This type of sickle cell disease is less severe. Comparing graph A and B, we can see that HBSS has a higher birth prevalence compared to HBSC. Comparing graphs C and D, we can determine that HBSS is more common amongst children in Nigeria.